registered.
Okay.
So for the why these nurses are leaving. And those in charge of doing this identification are paying lip service. And that for me is the biggest thing.
I'll get back to you so we find out whether we can identify the real reasons why, these nurses are leaving. But we're joined by Justice Youngson, Dr. Justice Youngson, who is Vice President of the Ghana Medical Association. Your chairman in the Bono East and Half region started this whole complaint about the fact that, look, they have, the nurses, they need to have more nurses, they are leaving and all of that. But I don't know if you know the reasons, the real reasons, since you are in the sector and you engage them all the time. In the Cape Coast Municipal Hospital, for instance, we're told last year 22 of the nurses left. Just one hospital, 22 of them left. And, some of the doctors within the central region have been complaining. They've been speaking to the BBC and they've talked about how it's a challenge for them because they're losing all the skilled nurses that they have. Dr. Youngson, what's the problem? What's the real reason why they're leaving?
Well, listen, let me put it this way. I might not be, in quotes, the right fit to give reasons why people are leaving. But on the whole, based on what I have heard, because I interact with some of these health professionals, some are our friends, some are our work colleagues at the workplace. So we communicate, we talk. And I must say, we all know the reasons why they are leaving. It's just that we tend to play ostrich. But if I'm to single out one, I think it's got to do with their welfare. That is the baseline. Because when you talk to them, they look at their own situations here in Ghana, look at what is being dangled them before them by these international and, let's say, external agencies. And they are very sure in their minds that they are taking the right decisions. The reasons why people leave generally: one, welfare, economic, is one. Two, sometimes for professional development purposes, so schooling, specialization, what have you. Sometimes family reasons, i.e., a husband or a wife is at the other side of the world. For family unity, one has to move to join and what have you. But the baseline is the economic factor. Look, let me be candid with you. As of, let's say, beginning of last year, averagely, a health professional taking, let's say, 3,000 cedis as his or her monthly salary. In real terms, let me just use the dollar value as a proxy. That 3,000 cedis thereabouts was equivalent to about 500 USD. As of, let's say, January last year.
Yeah.
Today, it is just about 250 USD. What it means is that this person's purchasing power has reduced by 50%. This same 250 USD, that person can get same value for an hour or two's work in these Western countries. Beyond the fact that some of the attractions being put before them include the fact that you can migrate with your whole family, they get the opportunity to have, in quote, relatively better education. Let's be candid with ourselves. The best education in the US cannot be compared to the best education in Ghana. Sometimes we need to be truthful to ourselves. So they have these things. Healthcare wise, here, a lot of them are footing their own healthcare bills. If they are out there, virtually nothing. They may pay 1 or 2 premium, but sometimes even the workplace makes it possible for you to, get these things. Conditions of work at the workplace. Look at the state of most of our hospitals and what have you. People are fed up. Look, if I use myself, when I was a house officer 20 years ago, my total earnings in terms of dollar term is what I'm getting now. Now that I'm a senior person, after 20 years, I'm getting the same value or in fact, even less than what I was getting 20 years ago. In any rational human being's, analysis, they will go for what is being dangled before them. People are looking at their future as well. because of the poor nature of the conditions under which we work, they realize that, look, their future is not in the best of states because their pension contributions, their pension earnings are not anything to write home about. And if the person is about 40 years today and thinks that can do another 20 years in a Western country, that 20 years will give that person a very good retirement package. Way, way, way better than what they will get here. They'll be able to put up, basic things like a home and all that. Because here we don't have any proper social protection arrangements where the aged will get a home to live in if they don't have. So if your take home now has been halved, your purchasing power itself is nothing good to write home about, your conditions of service probably has expired for years, it's not being renewed. Even where it's been renewed, the little that you have to be given, sometimes you have to go on strikes and what have you to be able to get that little paid to you. And then they look at the packages before them where you can take your family and all of it. Look, they are living, and unfortunately the middle to upper cadre who are quite experienced are the ones who are living. The younger ones are also living because they've also seen what is happening. Especially from the doctor's end, most young medical officers are writing USMLE and all the PLABs and what have you, and they are living, and you can't begrudge them.
You don't talk them into staying?
How are you going to talk the person into staying when the person is reasonable, is rational, can see what you are going through? He is also going through it in a way as a young person, and he sees that there's no future. He sees his friend who moved there a year or two ago, how in quote fast he's moving. And it is not as if they go and rest. If you go in with a mindset that you're going to practice medicine, professional development and all of it will come with it because there the standards are high. You have the opportunity to subspecialize. Even here, sometimes it's so difficult to even get into the specialization because there are all kinds of nuances here and there. But out there, you finish medical school and straight away you enter into a residency program of your choice. Sometimes there are bits of difficulties trying to get your real choice, but all said and done, the baseline is that the conditions under which we work, with the welfare matters, the economic situation, the take home being the number one bit, that is what is driving most of the people away. Let's be candid. Issues around professional development and what have you. For the doctors, with the establishment of the Ghana College of Physicians and Surgeons, some, let's say 15 years back, you could see, or 15 to 20 years back, you could see that the onset of the college led to a slowdown in those who were living to seek opportunities for further professional education or development. It also coincided with a period where the conditions at the workplace had been sort of enhanced a bit.
Okay.
So that clearly pointed to the fact that with these two together, a lot more people were ready to stay. But once the condition base, i.e. the economic component, started declining, you realize that people started taking decisions to go. And unfortunately, with the gap, the group that is living, these are those with a lot of experience, or the middle cadre who have worked for some years and are supposed to be the next set of leaders. Once they leave, we are going to create generational gaps in our healthcare delivery system. So the impact is not just today. It is going to be with us for years, decades to come.
Let's look at that impact that you talk about. And here also, before I get to Kwame and probably go for a break, I want to understand, because you are, within, the sector, how that is impacting you. But that will be after, some few messages from our partners. Stay with us. When we return, we'll be engaging Kwame Sapon-Osiedu and Dr. Justice Youngson, who is Vice President of the Ghana Medical Association.
Hi, now let me share my wildlife experience with you at Safari Valley Eco Park. On our arrival, we were greeted by experienced tour guides who took us through an orientation on how best to enjoy the experience. We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the eco park. We saw zebras, sable antelopes, crown cranes, maras, silky chicken, emus, wallabies, deer, ponies, and so many animals. We watched the animals roam freely in their natural habitat, undisturbed by our presence. Our tour guide told us so much about the wildlife, their behavior, and how to interact with them. I even fed them. We also went fishing. Then we took a break to have lunch in the beauty of the open space. All of this fun and activities for a starting price of 250 cedis, and it's free for children below 6 years. As the sun began to set, it was time to go back home, but not before our sunset dinner by the campfire. We've had a thrill of a lifetime, and I can't wait to visit again. Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature. Are you hoping to start university this October? If you want a British degree from a world-class university at a fraction of the cost, then join Lancaster University Ghana right here in Accra. With a diverse student community, vibrant campus life, and 50% scholarships to support your study, Lancaster University Ghana provides you with a world-class education that creates endless opportunities globally. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Apply to join Lancaster University Ghana, where learners become leaders. Admissions are currently open for our October 2023 intakes. Apply now for our foundation and undergraduate programs. For more information, contact us on +233 030 221 8989 or send an email to admissions@lancaster.edu.gh. Lancaster University Ghana, the only British university campus in West Africa.
When Solomon had finished praying, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple. It's time to pray and pray again. Are you ready for Stand in the Gap? 48 hours of non-stop prayer? Join the global gathering of prayer warriors, prayer addicts, and believers from the 6th to the 8th of July, starting 6 p.m. This year, under the mandate of our global lead pastor, Prophet Gideon Danso, we are declaring, let the fire fall. Joining him, our mighty men of God, the Reverend Ben Doku, Pastor John Hanna, Dr. Robert Ampia Kofi, Pastor Marty Thompson, Pastor Nathaniel Bassi, Pastor William McDowell, and the sound of our house, EWC Live. Location is the EWC Prayer Factory, Jowulu, next to the Allied Heights. It's your season of divine visitation. Come and birth your testimony at Stand in the Gap, brought to you by the Empowerment Worship Center, where God lives.
Say donut, 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 donut. Hey, donut, 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 donut. Donut, donut. Then come cut up donut, donut, donut. Malaria super donut. Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D till no not now. Wogonto malaria chill. Wohopopo. What mean the day? I want the no donut. A dabako. Num donut. A damian no. Num donut. A damian sa. Num donut. No. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat ide scatter malaria.
A quality products from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu hu se malaria wa wumujam ansana wanum Lonat. Na nam yensearch na malaria no daso wo ho a ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved.
Now we go live in 3, 2, 1.
Airtel Tigo is now 80.
It's Airtel Tigo.
It's okay, Abna. Say Airtel, say Sadie. That you know simple cry. 80. Simple.
Tell your neighbor to tell a neighbor that your favorite telecommunication network, Airtel Tigo, is now 80. Simple. New name, but still provides you with affordable and reliable internet, clear calls, secure money services, and much more.
80. Life is simple.
Light up your Eid! This Eid season, Electroland Ghana Limited is giving you discounts on a wide range of products. Talk of NASCO, Media, TCL or Samsung, fridges, air conditioners, television sets, microwaves, washing machines, and many more. Masa, look sharpo. Visit any of our showrooms today and let the magic of the crescent illuminate your Eid today. Electroland Ghana Limited, lighten up your Eid like never before.
Coffee in your cup. Enjoy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet. On Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. And this morning, we're having a conversation about you and a conversation about me, a conversation about us. Because look, some of our experienced health practitioners leaving the country. And I'm sure you know what that means, right? The doctors are concerned. So are the nurses. The nurses are actually concerned that the doctors are leaving. The doctors are concerned the nurses are leaving. And I'm sure we are concerned they're both leaving.
In fact, we are concerned that the health worker group is actually, going to become extinct at some point if we don't check it. That is the truth. It is. You see, it is only about a nurse, a doctor, and all that. Yes, maybe one will say that for the nurses, the fact that they are leaving has become so notorious that everybody, from kids to adults, from the ordinary man to the number one man of the state, naturally will be aware of that fact as we speak. But there are others within the chain who are also leaving. Sometimes we tend to concentrate it on just the doctor, the nurse, the doctor, the nurse. But there are others as well. And one other thing we also don't seem to talk about is the fact that it is not only migration out of Ghana. Even within the sectorial arrangements in Ghana, people are also moving from the health area to other sectors because they are getting their bread well buttered when they go to other sectors.
We'll come back to that because you've talked about how the whole sector could go extinct if care is not taken. I want us to explore that. I'll explore that with Kwame Sapon Siedu also. But if you love nature and glamour at the same time, then Nairobi and Dubai with Adanse Travels is a must for you. As part of our 10th anniversary trips, we're giving you the chance to experience 3 days in Nairobi, where you visit the Nairobi National Park to get close to nature, enjoy the city tour of Nairobi, and unforgettable dining at Carnivore Restaurant. You then continue to Dubai to be part of the fun-filled Adanse at 10 tour plan that includes a live performance at Dubai Desert Camp by the legendary Samini. Now, there's a saying that you've never been to Dubai if you haven't been there with Adanse. Our guided shopping experience in Dubai is one of a kind, and there are amazing discounts awaiting you. The interesting part is you get to experience all of these within 10 days at a highly discounted rate starting from $1,650 per person sharing. Travel date includes the 10th to the 19th of August and the 12th to the 21st of August 2023. The choice is yours, but the fun is guaranteed by us. Book your slot by visiting AdanseTravels.com or call 05577 46539 or 0552648267. Adanse at 10, it's a vibe. Book now to feel the beauty of life with Adanse.
It's Big O time. Are you worried about your parties, weddings, outdoorings, funerals, hangouts, on what to drink to enjoy during the celebration? Or you're worried about how to celebrate your friends and family during that special occasion? With Big O, no wahala for the occasion. Big O drinks have made it easy for everyone to enjoy and have the ideal celebration. And it comes in different, distinct and captivating flavors, each one specifically created to enrich every moment and bring vitality to your life. The flavors include cocktail, cola, apple, coconut, lemon, lemon lime, and orange, and comes in the 16 and 20 in a pack. A lot to go around. It's refreshing and good quality. Infuse color into your life and get rejuvenated. Big O Drinks, another quality product from Twellium Industries Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
So you contribute to the growth and success of the Ghanaian textile industry every time you wear your authentic fabrics. GTP says thank you. Always purchase original, genuine and authentic GTP fabrics. Check that the design number on the label is also printed on the edge of the fabric. Contact 0509 940949 to buy online or visit any of our accredited dealers nationwide or any wooden shop. GTP Lifestyle.
There's good news for small to medium scale business owners. With SME Plus, you get to manage all your operational costs in communication. This service simply allows you to choose from affordable packages and enjoy talk time, SMS, data, and business content all bundled in one subscription. The other exciting news is you get free on-net calls every Monday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Simply dial star 5060 hash to sign up today. WhatsApp or call 0244 308 111 for more information and stay connected everywhere you go.
Great. So let's get back onto Zoom now and speak with Kwame Sapon Siedu. So Kwame, Dr. Justice Youngson, explains it. He says, look, the welfare is a major challenge here. He's not going to hide anything. The economic situation and even the conditions of services and some of the logistics to work with are a challenge. But he also talks about, facing extinction, that we may just wake up one day, we'll not find anybody because they are all leaving the country. At least we know some of the reasons. But the question really is, how come we're sitting down and watching this play out in our face, Kwame?
Well, listen, I'm glad Justice has been very blunt, and I'm going to take over from there. The simple answer to your question is because we like propaganda too much in this country. And I'll tell you why. I'm quite sure you've seen the Ministry of Health holistic assessment of the health sector program as well document, the last one that is done. And you look in there, and for example, it will tell you that can you hear me? Hello?
Kwame, please hold on. We'll get back to you. Yes, we'll get back to you. I think there's a challenge with hearing you. So the team would engage you. The team would engage you so that we continue from there. We'll try and work it out with Kwame's connection. He's joining us via Zoom. But, Dr. Youngson, let's look at it from this one. You talked about facing extinction. The fact that, we could just wake up one day and majority of them would have been gone and it'll be blowing in our faces. How's that possible?
No, you see, Winston, you remember you said earlier to Kwame, we've been talking about this for so long, and we are here today talking about it. What it means is that the rate of attrition is not slowing down. It's actually increasing. Now, you see, extinction in a certain context, it will be very difficult for you to have a situation where everybody who is a professional is gone. But where you have a situation where the majority, together with the most experienced, are also gone, especially within the public sector setup, then we have a challenge, because we were on a path to getting our statistical figures better, i.e. doctor-patient ratio, what have you. Earlier you mentioned what is pertaining in the Upper East and all of it. So if the modest gains that we've made over the years, all of them are being rolled back, then clearly we are deteriorating as a people in terms of our ability to get these statistical numbers on the better side. And the truth is that when the figures are right and comparable to the worldwide, standards, you realize care in itself improves.
Okay.
So when you have a situation where you are retrogressing, then ultimately care is also going to be compromised. Waiting times are going to be longer. We may end up losing more people and what have you. So in that figurative context, we need to be careful and take proactive measures to make sure that at least we stabilize the situation. And then we think about building on sale.
Let's look at that point that you've just made about the health care. So, yes, to be very honest with you, part of the reason I like to go to a private facility is that I expect to have a lot of care when I walk into a private facility. Fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of our specialists are in the public facilities. So when it's a specialist treatment, you probably may have to go to the public facilities. But you've raised an important issue about the time, the care that you have for patients. Is it the case that today, many of you, some of you, don't just spend enough time to understand the conditions of patients, and thus there's a possibility of not giving them effective care?
Well, you see, these are the problems that we all want to avoid. And unfortunately, the migration will compound the situation. The very example you cited, let me just give you a small scenario. Look, if we want to really have adequate time for everybody, talk to the patient, explain, make proper, medical diagnosis, all the bits, standard conditions, we are talking about 30 minutes of engagement with you, the patient, minimum. Now, take it that you have only one doctor in the facility because of this attrition. The OPD, you have about 100 people sitting there. This doctor is responsible for maybe ward. You take that probably the ward and theaters, another doctor is even sorting them out. At the OPD, 100 people, you are the 21st person in the queue. We are not even looking at, per this scenario, we are not even looking at how bad your ailment looks like or how critical or even the emergency nature. Take it that we are seeing everybody based on when you arrived, so you are the 21st person in the queue. This doctor sits there. He doesn't get up to have visit even the washroom or anything. In 10 hours, at that 30 minutes per person, he would have seen 20 people.
Yeah.
All of them haven't had the opportunity to get everything well discussed, explained to them. You are the 21st person. You know what it means? You've waited for 10 hours. Will you be able to bear it?
No.
That is what we are trying to avoid. So the advocacy we are doing now is not just for ourselves, but for everybody.
Is that what we're going through today?
No, but if your numbers, if you don't have enough professionals, and the population is also increasing, naturally a lot more people will fall sick. So if you have very limited numbers of health professionals to care for a large number of patients, you will be faced with these problems. And if you as a doctor, you get into that situation, you have about 100 people there, you know how far people may have traveled to access the service you are providing. You want to do your best to see as many people as you want to see. In the process, you might not get enough time to talk to everybody well and get all the details and all the bits. You will do your best as a professional. You will go by the standards. But naturally, that extra in terms of conversation time to get to the bottom of all the bits might not be there. That pleasure might not be there. It's unfortunate. And that's the reality. Because if I see that numbers there, I may have to try and see if I can see everybody in like 10 minutes. So it's a difficult scenario. So the critical mass of, professionals we need, if we don't get that, it will impact on the delivery.
Let me bring Kwame Sapon in this one. This one we're talking about, our health professionals. The fact that today, and as Justice Youngson, who is Vice President of the Ghana Medical Association, puts it, the whole health sector, the employees, they're leaving the country. Kwame, Justice again has made it very clear to us that, look, the reality today is that they have to see a lot of patients. They can't spend all the time that they have on you. So if they can spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and get to know what the situation is, you come and then you move on. That certainly affects our healthcare delivery, isn't it, Kwame?
Yes, it does. Is my sound better now?
It's very better now.
Yeah, it does. You see, there are a number of things going on here. Just yesterday, I was speaking to one of my colleagues who's in the United States, and the mother had to run some tests, elderly mother, and it was going to cost 3,000 cedis. So he had to remit it because the test had to be done yesterday and today in a private facility. So what Dr. Youngson is saying is very true. Because what then happens is, if you don't want to be rushed through the 5-10 minutes and you want things to be done in detail, then you go private. If you go private, even the cost of testing alone is, for some of these things, is costing you about 3,000 cedis. How many people can afford it? That's the test. Your other bills, your medication and other things haven't come in. So we are facing a very serious problem where, like Justice said, apart from the fact that people are moving abroad, some are also moving into the private sector of our health provision system because they can't cope with those sheer numbers that are coming at them at the public sector facilities. And the point is that we are not doing anything about it. Like I said before, you were saying that my sound was poor. I guess you've seen the health sector holistic assessment of the health program of works.
Yes, I have.
And you see the numbers in there. I guess you see that our maternal mortality rates, for example, have been declining.
Yeah.
I guess you see that the NHIS is not getting the money that the government is collecting on their behalf. In fact, in 2021, they got 6.7%. These things are going and are becoming mitigators of the problems we find ourselves in. Because apart from the remuneration that Dr. Youngson talks about, which is the money that comes directly into your pocket, that has depreciated by about 50%, you also want your conditions of service to be viable. You also want some job satisfaction whereby, if you write a prescription and the person went to the hospital pharmacy or the community pharmacy and say they had an NHIS card, they would get the medication. They would be able to do the test because that impacts on that doctor's prognosis. He's diagnosed something and he wants a particular outcome. He needs the nursing care, he needs the medication, he needs everything to function appropriately for him to get the outcome he expects, all things being equal. Now, all these things are being eroded away. So yes, the health system is getting extinct because we are not being truthful to the circumstances we find ourselves in. I remember your introduction where you said something like, we are paying all these nursing allowances and all that, but the nurses are coming and some of them, we are not even able to employ them. They are sitting at home. And you ask yourself, what are we going to do about this? Why are we paying people to sit at home in training when those who need the quality of service and the conditions of service are leaving anyway? And the only mitigator is the fact that some of them cannot pass the English proficiency exam. You see, and these are the things. And sometimes I ask myself, people are being paid to take these decisions. People are being paid to fix these problems. And then Winston, if these problems are not being fixed, and we continue having this discussion, because I was just checking something and I realized 18 months ago, I sat on this very program with Dr. Yankson, discussed the same thing. We felt there were going to be improvements. 18 months later, we are having the same conversation. If you look globally, you realize that a lot of people who are actually benefiting from our pain are even more concerned about us.
Yeah.
Do you hear any politician talk about it? Do you hear anybody in authority talk about it? It's that we've gotten into a state of despondency. And when the people who are leading get despondent, then it is only normal for the people who are rational human beings to leave for greener pasture, better condition of service, and better quality of life. And that is the situation we find ourselves in.
So just to understand this from your point of view also, Dr. Yankson was making the point earlier. So it is your view that today, if we go to the health facilities, the likelihood that we would get better care is low because you have a lot of, us going there and you have few professionals attending to us?
Well, yes. You just need to look. I like to play the numbers.
Sure.
You just need to look at our population growth rate, which at the last, census was about 2.1% per annum.
Yeah.
And then you have to look at our health deficits. We have a population of 31 million, and the WHO talks about doctor to population ratio, nurse to population ratio, 1 to 1,000. So we need to have about 31,000 doctors. So we have a deficit of about 26,000. So we are training to catch up with that deficit, but we need to train extra 2.1% annually to catch up with our population growth rate. We are not doing anywhere near that. And there's also migration attrition taking place. So yes, you are getting more people going to these facilities to meet less health professionals per capita, which then affects the quality of care they are receiving. It's only mathematical modeling. It's nothing that we cannot work out. And for me, those are the things. If I can sit here and just do the modeling orally, are we trying to say that those working in our human resource in leadership cannot do this modeling? Are you trying to tell me that they don't know these numbers and they don't know that this is what is happening? Dr. Yankson is a practitioner. He sits there, he sees these numbers, and so he's telling you what he feels, his lived experience. And for me, there's nothing more important than the lived experience of a professional, because that tells you what they go through on a day-to-day basis. And if the lived experience is that poor and they get another opportunity, look, if you take a nurse in Ghana, you get one nurse, sometimes in some hospitals, seeing how many patients. They come here in the UK, you are told that the nurse to patient ratio should be 1 to 4, at most 1 to 8. They've got the equipment, they've got, hygienic environment. Where would you want to work if you were in their shoes, Winston? So these are very, very practical things that are making rational human beings take rational decisions.
Yes, and thank you very much, Kwame. I'll get back to you. And he's right, Dr. Yankson. You go to other parts of the world. And you see these doctors have all the time in the world for you. As a practitioner, I mean, I want to find out from you in conversations with your friends. Are there times you look back and say, you probably wish you could have spent more time with a patient, but you cannot, and that actually eats you up because you feel you probably could have done something better?
Well, to be honest with you, I can tell you for sure that every single doctor in this country who has worked for a minimum of, say, 2 years would come up or would have experienced something of that nature where he's just not happy because of the conditions under which he's working. Here, not the monetary bit, no. We are talking about, basic equipment and what have you. We get frustrated. There are times that there are patients, given the right resources, you could have done more for the patient based on the knowledge and the training that you have actually had as a professional. And you see, sometimes we even think that healthcare is probably only about Accra. When you go outside of the greater Accra region or the bigger cities in Ghana, the situation is even more pathetic. Recently, not long ago, we heard about Agenda 111, where the state itself said there were 88 districts without any district hospital. Can you imagine what that means? And the impact on the people? So our situation is one that we need to stop playing lip service and tackle it properly for our common good. Let me also say this quickly. This dichotomy between private and public, I don't want us to go home with the understanding that the private sector probably is immune or is operating outside of the systems we have created. No. In a lot of cases, the private sector actually feeds on the professionals who work in the public service.
Sure.
So when they leave, it equally affects the private sector as well. Of course, I can understand that looking at the dynamics and the nature of our healthcare delivery system as we have it now, a lot more people visit the public sector. But it does not necessarily mean that if you go to the private sector, all will be better than you get in the public sector.
Okay.
I'm sure every practitioner will tell you that for a place like Korle Bu, which is arguably our biggest hospital, we get referrals from all places, including the private sector. So even at the private end, there are limitations that sometimes will mean you have to go into the public sector for redress as a patient. And this discussion is not limited to the public sector only. Even within the private sector, people are living.
Well, let me welcome our listeners in Kumasi who are listening to us on Love 99.5 FM. Before we get into how we deal with this, I just want to get something from you. Since you are a practitioner, do you sometimes become indifferent? Because of the conditions you go through and everything you go through, does it become, do you have the feeling that, well, this is just what would happen? So sometimes you see these things and you just throw your hands and say, well, that's our reality, so nothing can be done about it. Do you become indifferent to your patient's conditions sometimes?
Well, what I can tell you for sure is that reality, that the conditions are not the best, we are not oblivious to it at all. But what we try to do is that, irrespective of the conditions under which we are serving, because the conditions also vary. Korle Bu's conditions might not be the same as, in terms of not the remuneration, but in terms of the workplace and what is available, might not be the same as a district hospital somewhere. So what happens is that the doctors will always want to do their best under the circumstances based on the circumstances upon which they are working. They try to innovate, they try to do whatever they have to do. But of course, some of the limitations are such that, for example, if you need a ventilator and there's no ventilator, bag you and what have you, but it will not be the same as if you're on the ventilator. So the doctor will bring, the best of his abilities to bear under any circumstances that he or she finds himself. He won't throw his hands in despair. Our primary focus is to do our best to save the patient. And that is the reality. But extenuating factors are such that sometimes it limits what we
But it
can
gets
do.
frustrating at times.
That's why I'm saying that everybody would have experienced it
And so
one
you,
way or the
I
other.
mean, you tend to give up at a point, don't
No, you don't give up. When the patient is before you, you won't give up. You do the best you can do. But sometimes the outcomes are impacted or limited by the sort of facilities that you can work with. I mean, for example, if you even have to refer a patient and you've referred the patient based on standard protocols, and then the receiving end, sometimes you cannot even communicate with them. You may have to pick your phone to try and see if you can talk to a couple of mates or friends you know to see if they can fix it for you. Or even if you are able to communicate with the facility, this no bed syndrome is with us. People roam the streets of Accra, moving from one hospital to the other on regular basis. Even over the weekend, I had patients who said they had gone to so many places, they couldn't access, any emergency room, stuff like that. So under those circumstances, if you're a doctor, you've gotten to a point where you need to refer, you have duly referred, but the system is not able to accommodate that referrer in the sense that the patient cannot get timely access to the next level where the required care can be given, then you are in a fix. So you try to sustain the patient, you try to resuscitate, hoping that at some point there will be that green light that will enable the patient go to the other side. But it is not as simple as that.
So, Kwame, how do we deal with this? How do we fix this? We are not in the best of times economically, but how do we fix this?
Well, you see, the first way to fix a problem is to acknowledge there is a problem. But when you have people in political leadership telling us, oh, we've employed the highest number of nurses ever since, and they are churning out numbers in bulk, we are not acknowledging the problem. So the first thing for me, Winston, is to acknowledge that we have a problem. Then the second thing is to then quantify the size of the problem.
Okay.
And then have a clear health human resource strategy in place to fix the problem. And what do I mean by a clear health human resource strategy? If you look at our nursing cadre, for example, they are the registered nurses, the registered midwives, they are the auxiliary nurses, they are the public health nurses and all that. Some category of nurses are not leaving because they are not being attracted by the pull factors. And we have a situation whereby a lot of the experienced nurses are leaving, but there is no backfill plan for them. So the point is that you do not wait for your best hands to leave before you start planning to replace them. There always has to be a succession plan.
Okay.
And it seems to me that there is no succession plan. So that is the other thing. So it shouldn't be like once the person is gone, you say, oh, there's a gap. Like you were saying, 22 nurses have left Cape Coast Hospital, and we threw our hands in despair. Was there a pipeline in place? There needs to be a pipeline in place. And in that pipeline must be incentives, because you cannot force the horse to the seaside, neither can you force it to drink. You have to incentivize that pipeline properly. And we have to accept that with the pull effects globally, just going to governments and the WHO to write letters like, don't actively recruit from lower middle income countries because they need their health professionals more than the West, is not working. And it is not working because, yes, they would write these things. Yes, the government would not recruit, but the nurses, the doctors, the health professionals, thanks to the internet, would see these vacancies globally. They would apply, they would be accepted, and they would leave.
Sure.
So now, these societies in the West, South Africa, and other things, they don't need to actually aggressively recruit from our countries because the internet is just an open market and anybody can go there. So we need to guide against that as well. And then finally, what I would say is that we need to acknowledge that the conditions in which our health professionals are working are dire. We need to stop this attitude of, even sometimes you give them, and Justice is there, I tell you, you'll give them equipment and there are no maintenance contracts. So the person has the equipment, is working with it, and when it breaks down, even fixing it becomes a problem. And then they have to start improvising. And when you do things like that, if the person is speaking to a colleague who says, oh, I had to improvise with an ambibag, like he was saying minutes ago, so I have ventilators sitting here that I just have to intubate and use, and all the person has to do is to pass an English proficiency exam, Winston, they will do everything to pass it. So these are the things we have to look at. We need to look at health in its totality, not try and look at it as an easy win, easy fix political playground where we make cheap slogans, get cheap votes, and see the people leave. Unless and until we come to that realization by fundamentally accepting we have a problem, Winston, we are not solving this.
Thank you, Kwame. Justice Youngson, so what do we do?
Well, Winston, I think the first thing is that we all need to acknowledge the fact that we have a problem and say that for once we want to solve it. The solution could be staggered or tiered, but for a short to medium term, we need to have real interventions in the health sector that will at least slow down the rate of attrition. And once we have identified welfare issues as one of the key things, let's stop playing ostrich and say that, oh, public sector, for example, we are all the same and what have you. Yes, every work is important, but when you have a problem at hand that affects the very fundamental structure of your country, if everybody in this country is not healthy, what are we doing? As they say, the health of a nation determines its wealth. So the human resource is key in terms of their health status. Now, if we don't have those interventions that will ensure that we have actually slowed down the tide, and then the medium to long term, we look at how best we can fix some of the problems such that this whole attrition will become a thing of the past, then we'll never solve any issue.
So these interventions you talk about, what are some of these interventions?
Well, when it comes to the welfare, it's very simple. It's about the remuneration of the people at work. So
are some of the best paid.
Who are the best paid?
The medical profession.
Well, I don't know that, because like I said, if today my take home in real terms, if I use the dollar exchange rate bit as a proxy, 20 years of active service, I'm worse off compared to when I started. Then nobody can tell me that I'm best paid. Because under normal circumstances, I should have progressed from when I started off as a house officer, a junior doctor, to now. But my take home, cumulatively, I'm now worse off compared to when I started practicing. Then, and it doesn't apply to me. Talk to any consultant, talk to any specialist.
Let's understand something. So when you started, rough idea, what was it?
No, that's what I'm telling you, that in dollar terms, if you use the nominals, because of the nature of our economy and the value of our cedi, it's very difficult to say. So if I tell you that, let's say 1,000 cedis, at the time, maybe the exchange rate was less than a cedi.
Yeah, so if you tell me the year, for instance, I can tell you the exchange rate. So 20 years ago, around.
So don't forget, we're also in the old regime. Redenomination had not come.
So around 20 years ago, we had an exchange rate of about 7,000.
No, it was less.
So that's 70 pesos.
Let's say 70 pesos.
Yes.
So if the man was taking 1,000 cedis at the time, if you knock it, you realize that you get 1,000 whatever now.
Yeah.
If that same person is getting, say, even 10,000 today,
it's less than 1,000.
Yes, you realize that he would have moved from 1,000 cedis to 10,000. Based on the nominal, you might think that it's gone up, but if you look at the real value, and like we are saying, we use, say, the dollar as a proxy, you realize that the man has dropped below the over 1,000 that he was enjoying 20 years ago. And it applies to all of us. You know.
So to the consultants take like about how much?
Well, I'm not in a position to disclose anybody's wages unless you want to tell me the wages of all persons within Joy FM. But at least based on, likewise, I also don't know.
You are a unionist. So
No.
I am not.
But like I said, I'm not in the condition. I'm not permitted to disclose anybody's wages. But the truth is that it is nothing to write home about. That is the stark truth. And the analogies I've given you should let you understand that so-called progress is not really the case. The state itself has done quite a lot in terms of trying to put up hospitals and what have you. Yes, but holistically, you realize that we still have a lot to address. So the welfare issues are very, very important. Then the conditions at the workplace. We also need to up the game. Go to our foremost hospital, Korle Bu, and let's be honest with ourselves. Even the nature of some of the structures at the hospital, if you look at it from the outside, the buildings themselves sometimes look sick. And it's not limited to Korle Bu. Go to Komfo Anokye, go to all these old hospitals that we know of. Some of the newer ones look a bit better, but we need to ensure that the workplace activity, the basic resources that are needed, equipment, what have you, are all in the best of states. And then, of course, empowering the professionals in terms of the trainings, the upgrades that they need. It's very important. So these key issues will have to be addressed. But the welfare issues, for me, for now, are the number one driving factor. It's the number one driving factor that is pushing people out of our land. And we need to address it. We need to have some critical interventions. Most of the health sector worker unions, they don't have any proper codified conditions of service, so to speak. Even what is enshrined in there now, which is way, way below par, a lot of them are not being met by the employer. Some have their conditions of service currently as we speak, in terms of the tenures. They are expired, but for months to years, they are struggling to even get these things renegotiated and what have you. So the challenges are there, and if we don't address them, it will continue to haunt all of us. And I'm not immune. I'm not immune. Tomorrow I could be the patient. Yes. You are not immune. You could be the patient.
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, we all have realized how very prominent persons in this country lost their lives. Sometimes, if there were basic interventions, I tell you, some of them could have been saved. I don't want to go into specifics, but anybody who has been listening to some of these headlines, especially the ones that the way they happened, they were in the nature of emergencies. Our emergency healthcare delivery system is wholly or woefully inadequate. We need to man up and ensure that we improve the systems.
Is there hope?
Well, there could be if we decide to change course for the better. But if we continue this way, the truth is that hope, the little we have, will fade in no time.
More like a hopeless hope.
No, it's the decisions that we will take today that will determine our future. We are at the crossroads now. Take the right decisions, implement them, do the right things, and we'll be fine. If we go the reverse, only God can save us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Justice Yankson, Vice President, Ghana Medical Association. And thank you also, Kwame Sapong Asiedu, who is Democracy and Development Fellow on Public Health at CDD Ghana, pharmacist, member of the Royal Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain, and Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, and the Institute of Pharmacy Management International. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
Are you tired of struggling with bad financial situations? At Quick Credit, we understand the difficulties that come with transitioning to a better one. That's why we're here to simplify the process for you. With loan facilities from 1,500 cedis upwards, all you have to do is call, and we will take care of the rest. All you need is your national ID. No savings, no collateral, no susu, no deposits, and no account opening required. Quick Credit has you covered. Whether you're expanding a business, starting a new one, facing an emergency like school fees or funeral expenses, or even just in need of a salary loan. What are you waiting for? Call Quick Credit today.
0302
200 390 or 059 692 0833. We do not give loans via the internet. Quick Credit is regulated and licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit. Lending made simple.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn. You know buff, you know chop. Where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey. Haja, our life was in dangerous.
Only our neighbor get water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selendion. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! Ask my boss, Mr. Poncho go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
Hey, Bra Kofi, your ceiling be smooth, bright and fine, Papa.
That's an understatement. It dey blink like 80 carats white gold. This be Interface plasterboard ceilings. Smooth, bright, and long-lasting. Everybody where they come here, they fill up. Where they direct them go Interface Limited for world-class quality.
If you're involved in new property development, renovation, or decoration, the right place for you is Interface Limited. Call us on 0274 999999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook, Interface Limited GH. Instagram, interface.limited.
This July, get up to 50% off Electroland Ghana Limited products. Massive Discount Bazaar is on again. Get massively discounted electronics and home appliances
from Electrolux, Samsung, Media, ABB, Nasco, Homeland, and good news, Toshiba is having a clearance sales.
From Friday to Sunday, 7th, 8th, and 9th of July, 9 a.m. each morning at Coca-Cola Roundabout Spintex. Items are a mixture of brand new, slightly used, scratched, showroom display, repaired, and dented.
Call 050-315-9739.
EGL, home of electronics and affordable luxury.
Habitat Fair is here again. The 2023 edition of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair starts with a